Good afternoon. I'm Bonnie Mathias, and I'm the co-chair of the search committee for the Dean of Engineering and Computer Science. And we're pleased today to have Dr. Nate Klingbeil be our candidate who's going to talk to us. And most of you are familiar with Nate, but just to very briefly review, Nate received his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Dayton, and his master's degree and his PhD from Carnegie Mellon in mechanical engineering, and he has spent several stints of time in some other locations, which he'll tell you about, but it's a pleasure to introduce to you Nate Klingbeil.
Thank you guys so much for coming out today. Access, affordability, preeminence. These are three words you usually don't see in the same sentence. And these are three words that must define us in the College of Engineering and Computer Science. Access, freedom or ability to obtain or make use of something. The idea that if you have a high school diploma from the 5 surrounding counties, that you've got access to higher education. It's a concept that is at the very core of the mission of this institution. Affordability. The idea that if you're going to come and get a 4-year degree, that you shouldn't be sunk in debt for your entire adult life. All right, the idea that we need to keep the tuition down to be able to bear the cost. But I actually prefer the second definition, to make available, to give forth, to provide naturally or inevitably. The idea that when a student comes to us, regardless of preparation, but they come to us with work ethic and they come to us with a dream to make a difference, that their success in our engineering program, in our computer science program, is inevitable. And then finally, preeminence. They always told me in school, you're not supposed to do this, use the same word in the definition, but Webster says it's the quality or state of being preeminent. Okay, but it is superiority, better than anyone else, better than any other open access institution in the country. That's our potential. And you can see all three of these words, if you just look at the faces of our own graduates. Access. Access is when a guy can go to Meadowdale High School, educated in Dayton public schools, and be the best kid they have coming out. Yet still, when he shows up at Wright State, he's 2 classes behind calculus. Okay? But he is met with a curriculum so innovative and so accessible that his success is inevitable. And so this is a guy that had a BS degree less than 5 years out of Meadowdale High School, a master's degree in mechanical engineering, now pursuing a PhD in STEM education at Ohio State University, an extremely selective, research-intensive institution. Affordability. Joy Davis, from the 5 surrounding counties, Springfield, Shawnee High, there's her college prep curriculum. Okay, and she came out of that high school really strong student. In fact, I had her in my academic advantage section. I could tell she was a really strong kid coming in. She wasn't valedictorian. She wasn't on a full ride. She had a pretty modest set of scholarships. Okay, but she chose to be a commuter. You know, I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of money on housing. I'm all about affordability, right? And the idea of opportunity for strong students that want to work, right, is how Joy Davis was doing meaningful undergraduate teaching by the time she was a sophomore, while at the same time doing that 10 hours a week, really ensuring the success of students a year behind her. She was off at the Air Force Research Labs doing world-class research that later made her the national winner of the ASME Old Guard World Poster competition. Okay, best presentation of any ASME undergraduate student in the country, that's the award that she won based on her work at AFRL. And that's not the work that she did for me, because she had a third job on NSF-supported research in advanced manufacturing. Okay, and it's the combination of that okay, that gave this woman a resume that looked like a PhD student by the time she was a junior undergraduate. Okay, and it's the reason why she banged out a master's degree 5 years out of high school in a program that had no 4+1 program. Okay, we have those now. Okay, and it's also the reason why she is fully supported on an NDSEG nationally competitive fellowship at Carnegie Mellon University, where she is continuing to prepare for her future as a faculty member in mechanical engineering. And then finally, Preeminence. Anybody that knows this student knows that this is the face of Preeminence. Okay? And this is what happens when the best student at one of the best schools in the 5 surrounding counties, valedictorian, makes the smart decision. And when you ask James, why did he choose Wright State? James chose Wright State because he realized he was a Harvard caliber guy, but he would be nuts if he took his talents to Harvard and stacked himself up with a lifetime of debt. Okay, instead, he said, why can't I go to Wright State? And by the time I'm a second quarter freshman, be hired by the Air Force Research Laboratory to do meaningful research in glassy metals, material science stuff. Okay, meanwhile, he's a biomedical engineering student, okay, but he's working in the materials directorate, okay, because he's interested in stuff at a really small scale. Okay, and then, this is a guy that said, but I really like this academic, so can I please try some teaching? So by the time he's a sophomore, he's got meaningful undergraduate teaching, where he's supported on an NSF STEP grant to go to the community college, right, along with Joy Davis, actually, and bring EGR 101 to our community college partners. Okay, and by the time he finishes his junior year, he's off to MIT for a summer program, 24 of the best students in the entire United States, invited to the #1 medical material science research lab. One student invited back over Christmas break, James Dahlman. Okay, so James Dahlman later then, one of only a small handful of students selected nationwide, currently in a dual PhD program run by the 2 best institutions on the planet, MIT and Harvard. Okay, and he gave me the best quote I've ever heard from a Wright State graduate. Hey, in fact, he got married and I went to a reception. He said, Dr. K, and this is in context of him just completing the MIT qualifying exams, because if you're going to do dual PhD at those 2 institutions, you're going to go to Harvard Med School with the docs, and you're going to go to MIT engineering and be raked across the coals with the rest of the PhD students. And the quote from James Dahlman is, Dr. K, Harvard Med School is a joke. Okay, and that was in comparison from him to MIT engineering. Okay, so the point is, right, that we can bring the very best students on the planet to our undergraduate programs, and we can provide access for students that by virtue of their own neighborhood don't have the advantages of a James Dahlman. Okay, and so these things are not inconsistent. And so here's where I see where we will be as a college when we reach preeminence. We'll be the first choice for area high school and transfer students interested in engineering and computer science. Over the course of the last several years, we've made some pretty good inroads in this direction. We got a lot of work to do. Okay, the regional image of the institution needs a lot of work. We need more of the high schools in the 5 surrounding counties to understand what we have here, which is some of the highest caliber faculty members and some of the greatest opportunities for top students available at any engineering institution in the country. Okay, and that's what we have, and that's what needs to be shared. Okay, we will be viewed as a national leader in student success and degree completion among open access institutions across the country. Am I going to stand here and say our graduation rate is going to be 75% by the time we're done? Absolutely not. Okay, that is not our peer group. Our peer group is open access institutions, and I believe with every fiber of my being that we can become the #1 engineering and computer science program of any open access institution in the United States. Our graduates, they will be the first choice of area employers. There's other engineering schools in the area. Okay? If you talk to our employers, some of them already think that the Wright State grads are better than the rest. A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't even employ the Wright State grads. We need a lot more interaction with those that are going to employ the people we put out, and we need to really solidify the image of our program as the finest place to graduate kids that you need to move your business forward. We will have nationally recognized programs in research, graduate studies, and distance education. We already have nationally recognized programs in research. I'm looking at people in this room that are regarded as the first expert in their entire field, the second expert in the world in their entire field, sitting in the room right now. Okay, we have this caliber of research. Are we going to be, as an institution, ranked in the top 10 on the US News and World Report? No. Open access institutions don't get ranked in the top 10 there. Okay, can we be widely recognized nationally and internationally as the #1 place for research in specific disciplines? Absolutely. Already are. Okay. Graduate studies, right? Can we selectively ratchet up the requirements for graduate study, right? For distance education, it is the new frontier. It's the Wild West of higher education. Okay, where can we make an impact there? When we're preeminent, our graduate and our international programs will be highly selective. They'll be internationally competitive. Open access is not our mission for the rest of the world. It's not our mission for graduate school. It's our mission for access to higher education of the 5 surrounding counties. And if we are going to move towards preeminence, we need to systematically move forward, making Wright State Graduate School as hard to get into as Ohio State Graduate School, right? Having international students that when we bring them here to mingle with our current domestic students are here to raise the level of discourse and improve the caliber of the educational experience. This is where we need to be headed. We've got some work to do. And finally, when we're done, we'll be the primary anchor of innovation and entrepreneurship, and not just for the university, but for the entire Dayton region. And there's people in the room here today that are responsible for gigantic strides in that direction. With the growth of WSRI, Advertech, all the possible opportunities for commercialization that we have, we will move in this direction. Okay, so how are we going to get there? There's no one set of answers that's going to get us where we need to go. Okay? And so here's a handful of things that I think we need to do as a pathway to preeminence. #1 thing I will do, okay, if I am the next dean of CECS, is I will continue to invest in student success. Anybody that saw the presentation by Dr. Politico, okay, understands that the success of our students is at the very core of the financial health of the institution. Okay, it is also at the very core of the mission and the obligation of the institution. Student success will be priority #1. This is a huge thing, okay, that I believe needs to be done, the #1 thing we need to fix at the entire university. And I've talked to the provost about this, I've talked to the VP for Enrollment Management about this, and I believe that with the help of the deans, okay, and getting this done at the college and all the way down to the program level, I believe we need targeted enrollment management practices for domestic students, for international students, at the undergraduate level, at the graduate level. We need to understand where we are, what is our capacity, where do we want to go, and we need to invest resources accordingly. More on that shortly. We need to expand internship, co-op, and experiential learning. If we're going to be the first choice, our graduates of area employers, we need a lot more area employers interacting with our students. Okay? We are making big steps in this direction right now, okay? And we need to keep moving forward that way. Research. If we want to be preeminent, we need nationally recognized programs in research and graduate studies. We have some, okay? But I like to think in terms of the way Narayanan used to always put it, okay? And that's, you can't be everything to everyone. And you really need to understand as an institution, where can you be preeminent? And we have some thrust areas that have been strategically thought out by the prior dean, by our external advisory boards, by the university community, the VP for research, and we've got regions where we can be better than anyone else. Okay? These regions we need to keep expanding, and we need to be open-minded to new thrusts that may become available. International collaborations. We need to graduate globally prepared engineers, right? They need to be ready, if needed, to take their career across the planet to serve the needs of their employer. In addition, we need to improve the international image of the entire institution, right? It's regional image, national image, international image. The more presence that we can get across the rest of the planet, on the internet, with a campus in another area, okay, with programs and collaborations that send students here or we send students there. Okay? It's not just for our own educational mission, but it's for the overall perception of the institution. Okay? And it is also a gigantic alternative revenue stream, okay, that can then be reinvested back in the quality of education for our domestic programs. It can be reinvested into research thrusts in order to help us grow. We need a determined and intentional investment in marketing and distance learning. Distance learning, as I said, it is the wild west of higher education. Okay? We've got to decide, where do we want to be? Are we going to be in on the gold rush? Or are we going to sit on the sidelines? Okay? And the reality is, a lot of this will work itself out. We got a lot of entrepreneurial faculty in the building. There's a lot of this is going to move, whether we have policy or not. But I would rather have intentional direction for distance learning. I would rather have intentional marketing that really hits targeted enrollment management. How do we fill our programs at every level with the distribution of students we need to answer the call that we have? Okay? And how do we market that in an effective, intentional way? Okay? The entire marketing operation can be paid with proceeds from distance learning. And sky's the limit on that. And then finally, we need to have, in general, an entrepreneurial environment. We all work for the state government, okay? And so we need to face that right now. If we're going to move this place forward, we've got to inject some capitalism whenever we can get it done, okay? And so we've got to have an entrepreneurial attitude, an attitude of innovation, an attitude of return on investment. We have that attitude. We've got a provost that's going to help us move forward. All right, so why do we want to keep investing in student success, right? I mean, if we want to be preeminent, why don't we just raise the standards to a 30 ACT and above and get a 90% graduation rate? Good question. Well, this is one problem right here. And this is the average American kid that shows up at an engineering program at Joe State University, Wright State University. Okay, and that's it, right? And that's the reaction they get when they are stuck in a year and a half, 2 years of traditional math and science prerequisites before they can move on in the traditional curriculum and have any chance of success at all. And the national academies have sat down and said, look, if we look around at the rest of the world, China, India, we're not even coming close. We're talking about an order of magnitude difference in the production of engineers, right, and computer scientists, and biologists and geologists and chemists and all the rest of the science. Right? And in fact, the United States, the President's Jobs Council, has just recently said we need 10,000 more engineers a year. And we can't even keep up with the calls. I was at a conference in March. I haven't seen the thing in writing yet, but the AAAS stood up at the microphone and said, no, they've determined we need 1 million more STEM graduates, okay, by the year 2020. And I'm thinking, did anybody show these people the calendar? Because it's 2013. And it's a 6-year program, and we put out 70,000 engineers a year as a country, and we're not going to get there. Right? The other equivalent kind of amount, a little more from the STEM majors. And so the bottom line is we're not even close. Right? Not even close to generating the kind of engineers, computer scientists in terms of numbers that we need to move the nation forward. And then regionally, enrollment management has been doing market analysis to figure out, hey, where are we investing? What are we going to, what are we going to grow? And you look at an area like computer science. I mean, if you lump together Wright State and all the rest of Southwestern Ohio, UD and whatever they have, Sinclair, Miami, everybody, Cincinnati, we're looking at maybe 50% of the graduates required to fill the jobs in the next 5 to 10 years, right? We've got a regional demand to have successful graduates from our college. And then finally, Mark will know this one the best, Ohio's higher education budget. And they want to keep tweaking the formula, and obviously degree completion, student success is a huge part of that. But here's what we know to be true. It's not getting any bigger. And we are becoming increasingly tuition dependent as we move forward. It's only going to keep decreasing. And again, the funding models themselves tied all the way down, and this is key. President Hopkins the other day made a special point to say, it's not rates. Right, as soon as you talk rates, you can start talking about just raising standards and keeping out the rest of the population. It's not rates, it's bodies with degrees. Based on the interventions we've put in place, College of Engineering and Computer Science has gone from 168 grads in 2006 to 232 baccalaureate degrees last year. Okay, this in the face of steadily decreasing incoming enrollments for the prior 5 years. All right, we hit a record low of 255 enrolled in 2006, and since that time, it's continuing to move. In fact, just this spring, we've got 180 applications for spring commencement in this college. So the key is, student success is the key to our success. It needs to be the #1 priority, particularly for those degree programs that have a national call to meet the need. And I want to point out that this is an investment in student success. It is not an expense. And so what I have here is a longitudinal result of our national model for engineering mathematics education. This is a joint curricular intervention with PIs from all departments in the college, and it is the result of, what takes 10 years to be able to show. We were funded for this by NSF first in 2003. And we made a required change to the curriculum for all the engineering disciplines, not computer science. All the engineering disciplines, we made a required change that said, Introductory Math for Engineering Applications, EGR 101, is the cornerstone now of our required program. And we made it required. We did not selectively invite people to come in. And we made a degree program change. And we did that because the calculus bottleneck, the idea that you've got to have Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3, differential equations, matrix algebra before you can take a class in circuits, or dynamics, right, or strength of materials, is the #1 bottleneck in all of engineering education. And we felt like we were in a position to change that. Right? And so we did that, and we put that in place, and this is what happened 8 years later. So what you see is a plot sorted by incoming ACT math of graduation rate. Did you earn a degree in our college, a CECS degree? This is all students entering from fall 2000 to fall 2006. The intervention was put in place in 2004. So the students that did not take EGR 101 includes the entire traditional population for 4 academic years. It also includes almost overwhelmingly the entire computer science department for the next 3 years. And it also includes students starting in 04 that had majors that required EGR 101 and did in fact take the course. And by virtue of taking the course, enjoyed now the most flexible engineering curriculum in the United States of America. And this is the result. Right? And so if you think about the populations that are there, the median student that enters the College of Engineering and Computer Science here has an ACT 24. The median student that pursues an engineering or computer science degree across the country has an ACT math of 24. We are the thumbprint of America's ability to graduate engineers. That's us. And what you see here is we have completely mitigated the entire effect of math preparation on your ability to be successful in engineering. We have uncorked the bottleneck. A student with an ACT 20, a student that by state of Ohio standards is not even going to be allowed to come here, graduates at the same rate as an ACT 28. And when you look at this, you say, really, do we need to focus our whole program on remediation? Well, take a look at the ACT 30s. Traditionally, we're doing 40% graduation rate of ACT 30s. Best kids we got. So, overall, graduation rate for students that took this course, a fundamental shift in the required curriculum. Overall, degrees in this college, 56%, compared to 25% for the traditional population. It's a factor of 2 on ability to get a degree. And when you retain a graduate, you retain full-time enrollment for the next 4 years. Okay, so one graduate retained with an average graduation rate of 5 years is 4 additional students in total headcount once you hit steady state. And if you understand that, then you realize that 78 additional graduates, which is the number that resulted from only the first 3 classes, is a couple $1 million in gross tuition revenue for the institution. Okay? It's also a change in the life and the future of every single kid, okay? And it's answering the call of the future of our global competitiveness, which, as you can see in the plot, is the entire range ACT 20 to 30. That's 70% of the whole population for this college. That's 70% of the population for the country. If we can do this, anybody can do this. And this is the reason that Wright State University is already nationally regarded as a national leader in engineering student success. In fact, you can see on the map right here, institutions that are currently funded on Wright State subcontracts to bring engineering math to their curricula. You can see unfunded collaborators, flagship institutions that are running our courses without the help of any NSF funding. And you can see the lighter green dots of all the people that at least gave me a day of their time at my national workshops. Okay, but the point is, we're getting out there, and we're starting to get some very high-profile visibility. In fact, I stood up with this plot here on the plenary panel at the NSF2's PIs conference, and the AAAS wrote an article that called this the crown jewel of innovation success stories at the entire conference. Okay, so Wright State is national leader in engineering student success, and as we'll hear shortly, we're going to be there in computer science. Okay, the changes are already here. It's just a matter of assessment, dissemination, and putting out the image. So, what are the next steps if we're going to invest in student success? Well, we've got this, the Student Success Center, okay, and this is a recognition of the prior dean, right? Understanding, does it make sense to take prime research space in the Joshi Research Center right there between a conference room and a visualization lab and make this the center of what people see when they come to look at our research preeminence? Okay, and he understands it. Absolutely, okay, because this is the future of the people filling our graduate programs. And so our Student Success Center provides mandatory academic advising of all intending majors. We were the first academic unit on campus, in fact, we're the only academic unit on campus that takes responsibility for the academic success of every single intending student that meets university admission requirements. Every single one, mandatory advising every single term. This is a one-stop shop for all recruitment activities and retention activities. Peer mentor programs, this is where we bring people to visit what we're doing in engineering. This is the place where when we recruit a kid, the person recruiting them is going to be their academic advisor, right? Is going to really understand exactly what they need to be successful because we know who we're recruiting and we know what they need and what interventions they need when they get here. And the other beauty of it is you can see the big conspicuous blank spot against the Student Success Center above the name there, right? This is among the primary CECS and university capital campaign priorities, and I'm quite certain that we're going to get some people, whether it's individuals or when the sequester business clears out, some corporate entity to say, look, I want my name on this, okay? Because this is the future of America's global competitiveness. So, what's next? Well, I'm co-PIs with some of the finest people in the building. I got them sitting right here. I got Mike Raymer and Travis Doon from computer science, where we've got a pending proposal along with Sinclair Community College for $2.5 million to follow our prior $2 million NSF grant with Sinclair. Okay? And what are we going to do with that? Well, this is the biggest thing to happen to the college right here since EGR 101. Okay? Under the leadership of Matt Risky, and under the leadership of so many faculty members, Travis Doon, Mike Raymer, but all of them, NTEs, we've got Vanessa Starkey, Mike Andresek, Karen Meyer, right? Core faculty members, Pascal Hitzler, John Gallagher, these people saying, look, let's take advantage of semester transition to really make our curriculum cutting edge and accessible. So you flash back to 2011, right, before the semester transition, right? And there was one path to a CS degree. It was CS 240, CS 241, CS 242. And the reason CS doesn't just put everybody in EGR 101 Is because it's not appropriate. Right? The curricular model for CS is not the calculus sequence. Calculus is required, but this became increasingly clear when we took over the academic advising of all the students, and when poor Cindy Oakley in the Academic Affairs Office, 2 weeks into the fall 2011 quarter, we could not staff the office with enough people to change the majors of computer science majors. Okay? It is the core required curriculum is completely inaccessible, and the conventional wisdom is, look, these kids even know what computer science is about. They don't know what they're talking about. They think they're going to code video games. They have no idea. That's true, they have no idea. Doesn't mean they have no potential. Okay? Doesn't mean we should shut the door in their face and send them off somewhere else. Right? That's the reason why the graduation rate for that entire department traditionally is 15%, 1-5. 85% of all majors never get a degree. It's the #1 demand field in all of STEM. Okay? And so, they realized we can't just fix an engineering math course, that's not it. We need core redesign of the entire curriculum. And so now you flash ahead to 2012, and you've got all the same kids that would have been in CS 240, right? And so these kids, they would be sitting in a traditional lecture, trying to glean what they can from a lecture on how to code Java, and going off and trying to work on it. And they got a help room with support and all that. But again, those kids are coming to my office to change their major. 2012, they're in a student-centered active learning environment. They've got round tables, they've got teams, they've got group, they've got in-class competition, they've got flipped classroom where the content knowledge is outside on the internet and where the doing is inside in the classroom. Okay, where the best teachers in the college are the ones staffed by Matt Risky to be in this classroom. That's exactly what we need to be doing. Okay, this $2.5 million grant has overwhelming support. It's a $1 million budget going through Travis Doom if this hits, for faculty support, for adoption of best practices in active learning, and for overwhelming student support. I want 3 TAs in every single offering of every single scale of classroom. All right, and if we could pull that off, you'd think now, we've got CS 1180 for the kids that would have been in 240 anyway, except they're doing a lot better because we got the active environment. Then, we got CS 1160, 1161, an entire year now that covers the content knowledge of formerly CS 240, but integrates a lot more stuff and a lot more doing and slows the pace down. Recognizing that kids below an ACT 25 are all, if you hit them right away with all this Java, they're gone. And so it's a ramp in. And then even at the general education level, we got the best teachers in the college. I got Karen Meyer in the classroom with 54 kids with developmental math levels, okay, doing introduction to computer science. Right, where they actually have a laptop open and they got some Visual Basic and they're seeing what programming is and they're at least understanding that if I got a path to go down, at least I know where I'm going. So again, you flash back last year, one path, CS 240. At the end of the fall, there's about 60 total kids moving forward in computer science. Flash forward to 2012, 160 kids moving to the next course in their computer science sequence. Overwhelming, it's not 50% more kids, it's not twice as many kids, it's 2 to 3 times as many kids potentially moving forward. I think the CS department can triple its graduation rate. I think when we couple that with engineering math, we will be the #1 open access institution for degree completion in engineering and computer science in the country. Okay, but when we retain all these kids, and now we've got core classes in mechanical engineering, right, that have 60 kids in them instead of 30. This is all well and good, but it's 60 kids for the same faculty member, right? And of course, we just went through semester transition, right? And so we know that just by virtue of that, we've got more students in the classroom. Okay, we need to really start focusing on success in the sophomore year and the junior year. Supplemental instruction, right, peer tutoring and core classes similar to the level that we provide for EGR 101, now EGR 1010. Okay, in fact, that class serves 400 students a year now, okay, with a staff of 2 to 3 instructors, the third if we have an overflow, and 8 to 10 TAs, depending on availability. We run office hours over 60 combined hours a week. If a student is not successful in EGR 1010, they look in the mirror and they say, you know what? I just didn't do what I needed to do. And then they're back the next term. Okay, we need similar levels of support throughout the curriculum. And then finally, I guess, well, not that finally, this is in the proposal, advanced preparation and recruitment of underrepresented students. And in fact, we have seen really a steady increase in students coming from Dayton Public Schools and saying, hey, I want to give engineering and computer science a chance. All right? And if you're looking at the blurbs that are out now on the news and the web, it's like UD might be shutting down their technology programs. 258 kids enrolled that don't meet their admission requirements, that they have no intention of turning into actual engineers. Okay? This is people that can be recruited to our programs, people that can recover from the initial preparation they have and move forward. Okay? So, advanced preparation and recruitment, what do I have in mind? It's not enough to just slap scholarships on underrepresented kids and think they're going to show up and be successful. If we have the data, we know that it doesn't work. Okay? If you want underrepresented students to become a bigger part of your academic portfolio, okay, then you need to go out and get them. And when I say get them, that means you need to prepare them. So if NSF funds this, and frankly, even if they don't, okay, we're working with Dayton Public Schools to put engineering math as an entire year sequence, okay, into their school. And if I try and run a class like this at Thurgood Marshall, I'm not going to get 3 people enrolled. But if I link up with David Lawrence, strong black man educated in Dayton Public Schools with a degree in math, and he goes around the schools and rounds up the kids from all 6 Dayton Public High Schools, then I can fill a room of 24. And if I can fill a room of 24 for an entire year, I can bring these kids in on scholarships, right? And I can give jobs. These could be the kids working Academic Advantage, working EGR 1010, working our precursor for underprepared students, the role model for every other underrepresented or not underrepresented, just a poor kid from Dayton Public Schools that wants to be successful. And finally, this is huge. Seamless articulation from Sinclair. In fact, the biggest thing the university's done for targeted enrollment recently is the announcement that just came out that said, hey, tell us what advisors you're going to put over there at Sinclair. Okay? And the idea that we can set up shop and become so integral with Sinclair, okay, that the students that go there just view that as part of their overall college affordability model, that inevitably they're coming to us. Right, the idea that in a few years we can have every single student that would have been in a 2+2 technology track in a 2+2 engineering science track coming to this program. It's a potential head count of 258 kids. If we get funded, Sinclair's going to have their own scale-up classroom, right, where they're going to put in the exact core curriculum that's been developed here, so we have seamless articulation between the programs. All right, so we're doing all this to make the students more successful, to graduate more kids. And so we can see some of the results here, the growth in enrollment. Now, the growth in enrollment is from a variety of different sources. Okay? In fact, I'm the one that admits transfer students to the College of Engineering, right? And it's clear what my mindset is, right? I mean, when you come to Wright State, you need to make university admission requirements. If you meet those, then my decision is basically, where do you get advised? Do you get advised at the college level, where we can get you in interventions and try and get you admitted to a program? Or do you go straight to a department? All right? And as soon as you shift to that attitude, and you're not telling 3/4 of the kids that they all have to go to university college, even though they've been at community college for 3 years, then more kids are coming and more kids are staying. Okay? And when you're recruiting, my estimation, just from new direct from high school classes, the total headcount steady state based on EGR 101 alone, probably 125 additional total students in the steady state enrollment for the college. We have since put in a precursor for underprepared students in 2007, increased the enrollment in EGR 101 by 50%. Okay? And so the number is even bigger. It could be a couple hundred students in our record enrollment that are there because of retention. They're not there because of recruitment. In addition, we've been pounding the pavement. Okay, and we are the only academic unit on campus that actually surpassed our record high direct from high school enrollment this year. Okay, and so we are bucking the trends that are coming with the regional demographics, and we're getting the kids here, but there's a lot more we can do. Okay, and then finally, international students. There's 200-300 students in that total enrollment just at the undergraduate level that are coming internationally. This up from a couple dozen total undergraduate internationals 3 years ago. Okay, so huge changes in demographics. And so the question is, are we as an institution going to continue to sit back and figure out how to best react when things we can't control happen to us? Or are we going to start being more intentional about what we get done? Okay, and so a huge part of my vision for the College of Engineering is targeted enrollment management. Okay, and what I mean by that is that we cannot reach preeminence if we just react to enrollment shifts we can't control. Okay, it is time to be proactive. What do I mean by proactive? We've got to identify capacity based on what we have right now, all the way down to the program level. And when I say capacity, what I mean is understanding that in order to deliver the caliber of education that we want to have our graduates have, ask the chairs, ask the faculty, what are the class sizes, what are the numbers that we consider to be capacity? And we'll have check and balance from administration that'll say, yeah, your capacity is more than that, okay? And that's fine. But we need to come up with what it is. Got to come up with what it is. If we don't have capacity, there's no way that we can do targeted enrollment management, right? When you think about the difference between an open access institution and a selected private, a selected private institution makes a decision. Institutionally, I would like my freshman class to be 2,000 students. And then they use resources to shape the enrollment with the demographics that they want. Wright State University steps back and says, well, we're open access. Okay? And so what we're going to do is just try and project what the budget needs to be and all that. Okay? And then what happens is, whoops, we thought we were going to have a 2%, 3% hit from semester transition, and we had a 10% hit. And now we're $13 million in the hole, and now we're scrambling to react. And so the thing is, the university needs to guide this stuff strategically at the highest level. But until you get down to the college level and the program level, you can't do this right. Okay? So you need to understand what is capacity, and then here's the key thing. Once you know capacity, you need to make intentional enrollment targets to either one of two things. You either reach capacity in the programs that have it. We got a material science program that's not at 25% of its capacity. Okay? We've got an ISE program at a similar level. We got programs where if I ask the chairs to make phone calls to recruit kids, they say no. Okay? I don't want more kids. Give me more resources. This is all reaction. It's reaction to, hey, my resources are way up. You know, Nate, I love your retention. It's great. I can't staff my class anymore. Okay, that doesn't work. That's not the path to preeminence. Right? So we got to do market analysis. We got to have strategic goals. We got to have data-driven, intentional statements about where we're going to grow and where we're going to be. And then the budgets need to be determined based on the capacities we know we can hit. And then when we grow, we're dealing with a $13 million surplus instead of a $13 million deficit. And those monies can be reinvested back in every single part of the mission. It can be reinvested back into quality education in the classroom. It can be reinvested back into research. It can be reinvested into anywhere it needs to be in order to further our path towards preeminence. And so to reach the targets, you got to have some seriously aggressive recruitment strategies. All right, and so what do I mean by aggressive recruitment? You know, we're working real hard. I got 3 enrollment advisors, you know, and we've got marketing now. We send out emails. We try and change the image. We do all this stuff. Look, if you've got capacity and you're going for targets of real numbers of real dollars, you need to think about activities you can do where you make an investment and then the scale of the ROI is an order of magnitude. All right, so for example, if you've attended the Direct Admit Welcome, you've heard Mike Raymer talk about Noesis and bioinformatics. All right, you've heard that. I got 3 degrees in mechanical engineering. When I hear Mike Raymer talk about his research, I want to quit my job, I want to go back to school and become a computer scientist. What does it take to have Mike Raymer interact with high school students at scale? Right? Not once you're already admitted, let's try and close the deal. Yeah, we'll do that too. That's not scale. Scale is, Mike, how's $1,000 a day sound? Right? The administrator already Ryan, he didn't just say that. Right? How's $1,000 a day? I need 5 days over the course of the semester. Okay, and we're going to take care of the logistics, but you are going to be in an AP biology class in a high school, and you're going to talk about bioinformatics. Okay, and you're going to spend the day. So the day is burned. a $5,000 supplemental contract. It's 50 kids. I mean, I'm doing this myself. I went to 8 high schools this year, AP Calc and Physics classes. Sometimes I'm seeing 100 kids in a day. 100 kids in a day. I put Mike Raymer in front of 50 kids times 5 schools, 250 people. What does his yield have to be? 1%. 4% yield? 10 kids. 10 kids enrolled in a program that has the highest demand of any program we have. 10 kids paying full-time tuition, and I had to cut Mike Raymer a subcontract for $5,000. Think about it. We don't even begin to touch the assets we have, which is the faculty that are already here. And to get it into this classroom, it's not my office calling up the principal saying, hey, Wright State would like to recruit. All right, try calling Centerville and saying Wright State would like to recruit, or Oakwood, okay? You're gonna get nothing, right? And this is our other greatest asset that we have. It's the Centerville student that's here that says, wow, I'm so glad I came, right? And it's that student that then fires an email to their AP biology teacher, and you said, you gotta hear what this guy's gotta say. Right, so if we systematically tap our students and we get our faculty in the classroom and we do 250 students times a faculty member, we multiply that by 8, then pretty soon we're having direct contact with 2,000 high school students in their classrooms. And if the yield is 0, we have AP biology, physics, computer science, calculus teachers all across the region going, wow, Wright State's got some serious research capacity. Right? This is the investment that needs to be made. It's a no-brainer. The ROI will be an order of magnitude. Data-driven, targeted resource allocation. Again, if you believe you can fill capacity, now we shift our budget to the budget of a private. And the difference between us and a private is a private maintains enrollment by setting standards. Right? And they crank their standards way up. I need ACT and 30 and higher kids. And then what happens is, if they get a demographic and the high school numbers go down or whatever, they adjust their portfolio a little, and now they're gonna get ACT 29 kids, but they still have 2,000 freshmen. We need to be at a place where we say no when people try to get admitted here. We're not gonna say no because they don't meet academic standards. We're gonna say no because we're at strategic capacity right now, and that's the strategic vision of where we are. And in a lot of our programs, we'll never be there. We could hit Narayan's 25,000, 35,000, including online, and we will not be there in engineering and computer science. In other disciplines, we might. Okay, but the bottom line is, once we have resources and we're now dealing with surplus instead of deficit, this is now the business of targeted financial packages that maybe it says a kid from Dayton Public Schools with an ACT 23 gets the same scholarship package as a kid with an ACT 32 from Oakwood. Because maybe that is the mission that I have for that academic unit. Okay, but it's all the way down to the unit because the mission of our programs is not the same. Right? And I keep bringing up this one because it really resonated with me when I heard it. If you look at documentary film, right? Academy Award nominated documentary film. They intentionally enroll 100 people and graduate 10 on purpose. That's their mission. There's not a national market for 100 graduates in that area, right? And so that's their mission. So it's got to be all the way down to the program level. What are the targets that are driven by real analysis of need and capacity and demographics, and let's allocate resources accordingly. And I can't stress this one enough since we've got the provost in the room, okay, and I think he understands it, but that's this. You know, targeted growth has got to be accompanied by the resources, okay, and I do believe we have upper administration that understands this and knows we need to grow to get to where we need to be, and we need to do it without sacrificing quality of education. And that's the path to preeminence. So when Mike Raymer and Travis Doom reinvent the CS curriculum and Matt Risky's like, go ahead, let's do this, builds the classroom and runs it, okay? When he has 100 more sophomores next year, he better get instructional support. Okay? That's the bottom line. It's an economic no-brainer. All right, so internship, co-op, experiential learning. This is one of the biggest areas that I think our potential is untapped. Okay, and in fact, we have made some really good inroads under the leadership of Associate Dean Slater. Okay, and so he was the guy that went around and rounded up all of these letters from companies to make commitments, $1.3 million in matching funds we've got from the Ohio Means Interns program. Okay, we've turned that into a sustainable model. He and Tony Bourne with us today, 4-credit internship seminar. Right, so the idea that the kids that are enrolled in internship and getting these matching funds from the state, we got to think about MBA type models, you know, is there tuition coming from this? Internship seminar to help them train to be productive employees. Okay? And then just the whole idea of increased interaction with industry that we can have by having all these commitments in HR departments. And of course, it's all fully sustainable. Right, because if the students are paying credit hours for co-op, that is how co-op programs sustain their operations. Okay, so we're making inroads. Okay, but as yet, we've got a whole bunch of matching funds and not a lot of jobs filled. This is just getting started. We need to think about how do we move forward in a comprehensive way. And I got to tell you, the whole time I've been at Wright State, 14 years, we do not have industry presence in our engineering buildings. We have occasional advisory board meetings, senior design competition where we bring people in, but I mean regular presence of major employers there all the time on a regular basis. That's what we need to have if we're going to be the #1 choice of the area's employers. So here's an idea I have to try and help get that done. I would like to open up the Brandenberry Career Development Center. Okay, and I talked to Jim about this and he was okay. Even though I know there's some staff members here that aren't going to like the next picture, I want to take the Brandenberry Conference Room, okay, and I want to convert this thing into the Career Development Center. And I understand we use the conference room a lot, okay, and in fact I've pulled the logs, and we do use it a lot. We used it a lot for WSRI, that now has its own building with conference rooms in it, and we're building the NEC building with conference rooms in it, and I think we can make do. Okay, we got a couple of conferences in the dean's office. And here's the thing, what would you do in a place like this? Well, this would be the equivalent of the Student Success Center for career placement, okay, but education, not just career placement. Okay, internship seminar series, continuing education, potential cash cow, short-term certificate programs, all these kind of things, industry recruiting events. Why don't we have a centralized location with industry logos all over the wall, with representatives from the HR offices in the building weekly, right? Like we do with the Dean's Leadership Institute. You tell me who from HR is coming, who from engineering is coming, let the student success staff round up 20-some students to be a full house audience every time you're here. All the time, several times a week. So when I say I'm going to take over the conference room, I mean, let's seat this thing in rounds. Let's space off a little bit at the front for director and office space whose job is to get this going. And let's fill this room with industry people, with students taking industry seminar, with presentations by HR departments, with serious, meaningful recruiting activity all the time for our students. And it's right next door to the Success Center, okay, which sits right next door to the Visualization Lab. So you want to talk about recruiting opportunity. The #1 question we get, hey, when we're doing all this VizLab Success Center is, tell me about job placement. So what's that like? Where's the career placement? And if you could walk we're on a standard thing now with admissions, right? Every time they have a standard university admissions, I think it's Monday, they card over all the people that are interested in engineering, and now that we have the Success Center, we got the room for the presentation, and my staff shows them around, we got the VizLab if it's open, you could walk them right down the hall and show them the place where their kid is gonna get a job. Okay, an internship as early as their first year. And of course, super high visibility, right? Prospective students, industry partners, donors, right? It would be part of the focus of what we need to do in order to move our mission, which I believe is the first choice. No, I don't want a UD grad, I'm hiring a Wright State grad. Okay, that needs to be the attitude of area employers. All right, so research. We got some of the world's best researchers in their discipline sitting in this room saying, is this guy gonna stop talking about the undergraduate program? Okay, and I don't blame him, because the path to preeminence, okay, the path to preeminence has got to include nationally recognized research, nationally recognized graduate programs that are highly selective, We've got the results of the visionary leader before the next team, okay? And the growth in research over the last 5 years has been fueled by the growth of WSRI, right? So these are research awards, including that is engineering computer science affiliated with WSRI, and we have gone all the way up to $20 million, the leading performer at the university. And now, the next team's gonna have to put up a chart next year that looks like they really dropped the ball. Okay, because we already know the numbers for this year. I got RSP people sitting here. I got 600 grand myself in pending awards selected for funding. I don't have an award letter, okay, because we've got the sequester and we've got all this stuff going on right now. And so not clear to me, how much can you sustain? WSRI, I'm certain in themselves, having issues with bringing this kind of growth this year. So I think that's a bump in the road. And I think we are really growing if you look at our thrust moving forward, but we need to be intentional about how do we continue growth moving forward in terms of research. And so the beauty of this is the strategic thinking for moving forward in research has been a work in progress for a number of years. And I've been involved in that work in progress, but our former dean, now the provost, understands what our thrust areas are. Okay? And this has been vetted by advisory boards and faculty and everything else. And we can grow in other places, but we got 4 really big areas where we can be better than anybody else. Okay? If you think about the entire healthcare sector, okay, I believe that advancements in engineering and computer science in healthcare are going to be the largest impacts made by the entire STEM field in my lifetime. When I see the kind of things that are happening in terms of visualization and the things that OASIS does in large biological data sets and just data sets in general, and the implications on healthcare, right? And then, all of the work in literally devices, biomedical devices, imaging, everything done by BIE. The link between engineering and neuroscience, right? And the medical school, and all of that, right? And everything that we're doing with the NEC building, a huge area of thrust moving forward. If you look in the area of cyber science and sensors, right? The cyber area in general, the #1 demand area in terms of research needs, in terms of education needs, everything else. So Noesis, we are the best in the world in the things we do in Noesis. Okay? We need to continue to grow this. We need to do whatever we can to get more undergraduate students involved in research, recruited into 4+1 CS programs, recruited into PhD programs. This is the path for research thrust. It is integrated all the way down with the undergraduate mission. Best possible students we can recruit are the ones we funnel into this. If you look at autonomous systems, right, and I know we've had somewhat of a transition with the Center of Excellence in MABs and wanting to shift focus here and there, but geez, we got a computer science faculty member, John Gallagher, with $1 million NSF grant to work on MABs, right? And then all the things in terms of navigation type technologies and the applications for CS, really in all of these. In fact, I would have a CS on the last one if there was room in the black box, okay, to get involved with moving us forward everywhere. UAVs, we listen to the College Advisory Board, a huge area for us, modeling, simulation, flight, all the aerospace kind of things that are obviously near and dear to our hearts. Okay, and then the last thrust there is one I actually tweaked a little. And at the last advisory board meeting, we called it, direct part manufacturing. And it's this whole idea that there's this resurgence in additive manufacturing, layer by layer things, and it is an area that as a result of the work in the MAB lab, they want to move that way. Okay, but the thing is, that's just one aspect. Additive manufacturing. I've been working in the discipline for 20 years myself. It's not new, it's just that right now, we've got a very strong political climate for resurrecting manufacturing. Okay, and moving forward, we've got technology now that can bring manufacturing to places where it's never been and can contribute to growth of companies. Okay, and so as a result, the whole idea of advanced manufacturing, not just additive manufacturing, right? Everything they do over at MLPC, which is not yet additive manufacturing, is advanced manufacturing. The whole late campus engineering program is driven by the manufacturing sector, right? The future of that program to grow and have research presence is in manufacturing. Okay, and you think about where the rest of the departments can fit in. The training, the logistics, the controls, it's all the departments, right? The algorithms to develop this, CSE also. And in fact, the little slide up there is, that was a plenary type slide Narayanan was off, I think, in a different country, and I went to the Dean's Public Policy Colloquium in Washington, D.C. this year. And so this is where all the deans that can make it, an entire lecture hall, entire auditorium filled with engineering deans, has an entire day agenda. And the entirety of the entire day is advanced manufacturing. So every engineering program in the country is asking themselves, where can we be a player in advanced manufacturing? And when I look at the operations we have in place now, the collaboration with MLPC, my own research, I've had over $1 million, probably 1.5 or something in this kind of area in my career, but the ability to grow to support the other areas, and then all the new things we could get into with the NEC building, right? I mean, the idea of embedding sensors into the human body that need to be wrapped in titanium, right? And how do you make this stuff? All right, so nanoscale kind of manufacturing, micro, I mean, every single level of advancements in healthcare fits in this area as well. Okay, so we've got big opportunity for growth. International collaborations. Why do we want international collaborations, right? Aren't we supposed to serve the 5 surrounding counties? Okay, and so here's the thing. Steal another one from the Rhinan. It is a hyper-connected world. Okay, in fact, this is not even a new idea anymore, right? The idea that kids that I graduated from college went and got jobs at places like Ford, and their entire family ended up living in Beijing. Okay, and so the idea that our graduates need to be prepared for the possibility of following careers internationally. The other huge one for me, in terms of the rest of the mission, right? Access, affordability, preeminence, alternative revenue streams. Okay, right now there is a targeted initiative from the Provost's office and enrollment management all the way down to figure out what about all these international students that are just sitting in our queues, right? And getting these students in. Okay, and so for people concerned about, why are we giving scholarships to all these international students? It's because next year's enrollment of international students is going to pay for scholarships for top domestic students by an order of magnitude, right? And so it's just being smart. How do we go about moving the vision forward? So it is an integral part of targeted enrollment management. Everything we need to invest in to move us forward, international programs is helping us do it. So you look at where we are now, under the leadership of Lan Hong, okay, and the dean, and the departments. I mean, we've got George Huang, I think, can't be here today, off internationally. We have Ramana Grandi, off to India, Raghu Srinivasan. I mean, faculty members going back to places of their own heritage and trying to drum up agreements. We've got joint programs, obviously a campus now and an engineering program at Dalian. But 4 other Chinese institutions, we've got Taiwan, program with Gazi and MOU now, students back and forth, a strong program, high caliber students to advance that mission of raising the caliber. Of these programs, we're looking at 50 plus people combined here, expected to be here on campus just from the programs we have MOUs with right now. And the growth of the Wright State campus at Dalian expected to be 1,500, 2,000 students in China in the next couple of years. And then you think of other opportunities just for learning of our own domestic students, study abroad. We go to Taiwan, it's a super effective program, it's great for us for recruitment, but now we're in Malawi and computer science is in Japan. And so the question for me is, what's next? We're gonna go to Europe, does that make sense? We've got some things with Germany, Nana, South of America. What about the fact that the engineering population at Wright State is under 2% Hispanic? Right, where the rest of the country, at some point in my lifetime, Hispanic is going to be more than Caucasian. Okay, and so the idea is that part of our mission? Okay, and do we want to get into that business? Okay, so thinking about all the kind of Hispanic countries of origin and exposing our students to that as well. All right, and then a huge frontier for us. I lump together marketing and distance learning because we've kind of looked at them as one thing. But these are not the same thing. Okay, and so let me talk about distance learning first, the education. And if you look at this chart, this is the growth in CECS distance learning in terms of revenues generated. Okay, and Ned Wiltshire in charge of the growth of this program. And if you look at it, I mean, it has been an exponential cash cow. All right, I mean, it is growth in this area. We are at the Wild West of what can we do. Okay, and if you look over on the right-hand side there, we've got a guy from the University of Toronto, a CS guy, and maybe some of you have seen his Mooc, that, Chronicle of Higher Education, every time you open it up, they got something else about Moocs. And I know there's a lot of concern among faculty members about Moocs. right? There's the whole idea of, are we just going to be replaced with these Moocs, right? And, the thing is for me, is the question is not, is the Mooc going to put me out of business? The question is, how can the Mooc be leveraged to improve the quality of education in my discipline? Okay, because the stuff that the faculty members can do in this college is not going to be displaced by Mooc. The question is, where are we going to fit in? Okay, and so I would say that Moocs are not to be feared, but they're to be leveraged. And we got to figure out where the leverage is. And we've got faculty members in this room, better than this guy, okay, that don't yet have a Mooc. Okay, and we'll see whether or not we can get that. All right, and here's the key. It is an integral part of targeted enrollment management. If you have a steady revenue stream for distance learning, you can reinvest the revenue to incentivize more faculty to do distance learning. You can improve the quality, right? We're putting in a Quality Matters program now. Meg Wiltshire leading that up, okay? And putting that in now to make sure that when we throw these courses out, it's not just, hey, we're using online technology, it meets the kind of standards we want for quality online education. We can take that money and use the entirety of proceeds for distance learning to do intentional marketing in order to improve the mission of this place, number one, right? But in order to really improve our performance on enrollment targets, we can invest the money back into marketing, go get the students we want. We can reinvest the money to flip more classrooms, right? And so if we have enough preeminence in distance education, we can start spending more time doing stuff in the class and less time rattling back stuff from the textbook. Computer science department understands this. They're already doing it. Okay, and here's the thing I have to say to faculty concerned about the revolution. We can reinvest to support traditional instruction, right? Every revenue stream we have is a revenue stream that can provide a better opportunity for kids to learn, and traditional instruction is not going away. It's just going to be a portfolio of all that we do. So finally, and I am at the end, sure I'm talking longer than I was supposed to, we need to have an entrepreneurial environment in order to move forward. So, what does that mean in general? We need people to be thinking about making new stuff, generating new things, being incentivized to get it done. So for faculty, what would be an entrepreneurial environment? Well, how about this? Unprecedented opportunity for participation in recruitment, faculty recruitment fellows, competitively selected, right? Supplemental contracts to get out into the high school and contact students in scale. 2,000 students exposed to our best faculty in one recruitment cycle. How many would come? International collaborations. I had a conversation with Romano Grandi. The poor guy got tired and left. And he's telling me he's in India running these workshops. He's a world famous, the other world famous guy left, Amit Sheth. And these guys, right, back into India, these guys, they get brought out there by institutions to say, please, will you expose my students to multidisciplinary design optimization? You're a world expert. And Romano comes back after 3 weeks, he's like, you realize that if we just integrated this with recruitment and we had the scholarships available, you understand I could bring 20 back with me, or 50 back with me. Well, so my question is, why the heck aren't we doing that? Distance learning, again, it is the uncharted frontier. Okay, no limit to opportunities. We've got a program approved by the prior dean to really incentivize faculty participation. Student projects, research commercialization, right? The opportunities to say, hey, maybe I haven't been very research active, okay, but now I got a chance to actually get maybe one SBIR grant and get the entire summer salary and a full-time student off of that, because I've got for-profit mixed into this whole academic mix. Right? These kind of things being led by WSRI, Advertech Now, unprecedented opportunity for faculty. How about this? Got to have some controversial stuff up. How about unprecedented support for better alignment of faculty talent with workload assignments? And how about understanding that we have faculty in the building, okay, that we don't want to put in a lecture hall in front of 60 people, and they don't want to be there. And the question is, we got other faculty, right, that why aren't they there when they could be, right? And I believe that every faculty member in the college has a place to contribute to moving us forward, moving us forward in access, moving us forward in affordability, moving us forward in preeminence, but we gotta find out what it is, and instead of a structure that purports to penalize bad research with more teaching, for example, can we figure out where the contribution can be, where can there be ROI, and can we be creative and get faculty recharged, refired up, doing things they want to do? Maybe if you're bad at a lecture for 60 people, and we know you're bad because you've been doing it 20 years and we got your evaluations, okay? Maybe you can have 6 senior design teams and the work that you do will be a cornerstone of the recruitment activities for this college. And the competitions you win will continue to put us on the map. Why aren't we doing it? For staff. Staff is a hard one, okay? I'm here for suggestions. You know, we work for the government, okay? And so we've got all kinds of constraints from human resources and all the rest of these things. But, you know, where can we start doing more of the types of things that Patty Moore headed up? You know, she took charge for a program that said, hey, we gotta do a better job of inventory, right? And we gotta have some ownership of making sure we distribute the inventory right among the departments and don't waste people's time overlapping stuff here or there and all of this. You know, at what point can the staff really be involved in kind of meaningful planning and advising about the operations of the college? Okay? At what point can we make sure that when staff want professional development, okay, so they might have career advancement, that the answer is yes, right? And we want you to be happy in your career because your value to the organization is frankly more than your market value, right? Salaries are determined by market value. And there's not a lot we can do, and there's not a lot that HR is going to let us do. Okay, but we can still provide job satisfaction for staff, and whenever we get a chance, we got to have opportunities for career advancement. And then finally, for students, how about unprecedented opportunity for teaching, undergraduate students in teaching, research, undergraduate research and internship, exposure continuous all the time to job possibilities. How about service learning? We got one department that does any meaningful work in service learning. We got 4 departments that could be, right? And so, you know, where can we support that mission of the community that we have as an institution? More students in study abroad. 4+1. You want to talk about a recruitment tool. Why in the world would an ACT 30 kid go to the University of Cincinnati for engineering? It makes absolutely no sense. Okay, because the University of Cincinnati wants to place that kid in a job, and they want to do that 5 years out of high school when the mandatory co-op is over. When an ACT 30 kid comes to Wright State, I want to place them in a graduate program. I don't want to place them in a job. We have an internship along the way, maybe at the Air Force Research Labs, but you're an ACT 30. You need to be in graduate school. You need to at least be in a 4+1 where it'll give us a chance to recruit you to the PhD program. All right, so the opportunities for top students at this institution are better than they are anywhere that I've ever been. All right, and it's because of all the things we have going with the faculty, it's because of our proximity to AFRL, but it's because of the opportunities that we're willing to invest in students. And then finally, if you're a student, Wright State will be the #1 place that'll provide you overwhelming support for your success. We're doing it, we're going to continue to do it. It's the #1 priority moving forward. Questions? Dave Kender.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I had 3 questions about 2 of your comments. You
Yes.
did mention NTEs.
Yes.
Now we represent about 20% of the college faculty. 2 recent hires were hired apparently or appointed at large. We had a faculty meeting earlier in the year, and it was brought up that maybe these appointments are at a disadvantage since they can't join department committees, and it would affect their promotion. Any comments on how that might be fixed or remedied?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to change the bylaws. Okay? And so the issue is, I for one, I am not of the mind that faculty have to be affiliated with specific departments. Okay? If that was true, the College of Nursing would have a problem because they don't have any departments. Okay? And so the issue is, when we have courses that have a mission to serve the entire population, it's dangerous to have the assignments of those faculty controlled by department chairs. right? If we have courses whose very inception is to serve across all departments, and so right now, 500 students a year, engineering math. If we continue to expand and we have college level NTEs for engineering math, they ought to be EGR appointed. Okay, technical writing's another one. We have new hires, exactly as you said. So absolutely, Dave, 100%, a faculty member affiliated with the college needs to have every single opportunity and status academically as one affiliated with a program or department. And if that's not currently the implication of the bylaws, then we need to move the bylaws to make sure that that happens. And in fact, at the last faculty meeting, we were talking about language that at the very front could just be modified to say, for the purpose of this discussion, right, the term BUFM implies all NTE or tenure track faculty, and that could be further modified to say at either the department or college level. Right, and so the idea that these are fully affiliated faculty, they just have a mission that's determined by college level teaching assignments, should absolutely not disadvantage them.
The other question I had was about NTEs. The difference between an instructor and a lecturer are very tenuous, with one exception. And instructors are appointed for a maximum of 6, 75 years maybe. Two of the people you mentioned by name are on the edge of being terminated because of the longevity of their appointment. If they are not, their positions are not changed to lecturers, we'll lose them, as I understand.
Yep.
Any comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, general comment. Whenever there is a decision that needs to be made, where the decision is closely related to the quality of education and the ability to deliver high quality teaching, the answer is going to be, that's what we're going to do. And so when we have the best teachers in the college amongst them that are on these short-term appointments that are going to be terminated, the reality is Matt Risky's going to have 100 more sophomores next year than he has right now, right? And so the reality is we've got to have instructional support moving forward, regardless of the existing faculty that you're worried about contracts running out. So one way or another, if we're going to grow, you can't grow by letting your best teachers fizzle out their contracts and going away. Okay, and so I can't talk about any specifics for individuals and their contract renewals, but I can say in general, I can tell you this, and you've heard it today, what's going on in CS is so critical to the future of the college and the mission of the country that every instructional resource that can be directed to CS, as far as I'm concerned, is going to go there.
Third question.
Yes.
With the funding model quite not, it's unknown, right? Are you confident that the revenues from distance learning will come back to the college?
Here's what I'm confident in. I'm confident that the provost of this institution is going to lead us on a path to preeminence. Okay, and I believe that he's going to put it in the hands of the dean to figure out how the funds work out. I believe that he believes in targeted enrollment management and in the value of the deans to help set the targets and to manage their enrollments in a way that we are operating at surplus and that targets beyond surplus are affiliated with revenues. So do I know what the specific plans are for the distance learning business model? No. But we got a provost that wants to get up to 10,000 students enrolled in distance learning, and you don't get there by disincentivizing academic units from doing distance learning. Okay, so we got a guy up top that understands return on investment as well as anybody at the institution. And he's going to get it done. Yes?
I have a question. If you look at quite a lot of great ideas carried out, what from your point of view bottlenecks probably prevent some of a lot of great ideas, priorities, and what is the goal? Let's say we are something from 15% rate of enrollment, and what kind of something that prevent us from that?
Yeah, so the question was, do you have any specific goals for like growth and what could be the potential barriers or bottlenecks moving forward to achieving the goals? So here's the thing. From day one, when I wanted to compete for this position, I was not going to stand up here and give you benchmarks that I'm going to hit. Okay, and the reason I'm not going to do that is because what we need is to establish a process for intentional enrollment management that involves meaningful data analysis to inform the targets. Okay, once we know what that is, then my target is to fill capacity and grow all the time. So here's the thing. You say, where's the barrier? Right now, if I tell George Wang that I'm going to get him 50 more first-year mechanical engineering students, he's going to say, I don't want them. Okay, and it's not because George doesn't want more students, it's because he is beyond capacity right now. Right, and so we need to make a decision about things we've already done in the past that have moved us beyond capacity in some programs, make sure we allocate resources to absorb capacity as appropriate, and then every single undergraduate discipline in this college needs to grow because the region needs the grads and the country needs the grads. Okay? And at the graduate level, you can look a little more. We have a program or two close to capacity, but for the most part, MS programs all need to grow. So we need to be in growth mode. So the barrier is just if there is some kind of time lag between resource allocation and growth. We've got that time lag now, right? I showed the enrollment chart from 1,900 students to 2,400. Every single year, it's Bozzoli figuring out how to absorb budget cuts. Right? And so you can't move forward with that kind of environment. But step one is establishing budgets based on capacity. Step two is setting strategic targets for growth. And as part of step two, the resulting revenues have got to come back to deans so we can reinvest. Okay, so that's it. The issue is navigating the current budget situation to get forward where we can recover from semester transition issues related to capacity in classrooms, waiting for a new building to be built so we can fit kids in classrooms. You know, these kind of practical things are there, but for this college, it's a simpler question than a lot of the other ones. The answer to should we grow is yes, and it's the intentional method in which we do it that needs to be implemented.
All right, I think it's a go forever because so many good things here. Yeah? And Dr. Klingbeil has a moment and 30 to 5 minutes. Okay? So Dr. Klingbeil, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So industrial engineering, how questions? Okay.